Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. I'm excited to be with you. I'm sure Liehr is too. Say hello, Liehr.
What's up, everybody?
We're back at Atlanta for the Folds of Honor QuickTrip 500. Stages for this week's race will be at lap 105, lap 210, and then they will race the final 115 laps all the way to the finish.
Interesting fact here at Atlanta is since 2006, the winner has come from outside the top 10 only 5 times, and from the top 5 8 times. The winner has come from the top 5 2 of the last 3 races, with Keselowski winning 2 of the last 3.
The temperature is supposed to be 88 degrees with partly cloudy skies when we're scheduled to go racing at 3 p.m. Eastern on the main network of Fox. All right, kids, before we get into this week's picks and the drivers that we're going to talk about, I just wanted to thank everybody for their support of standing up to racism and discrimination from last week's video. The overwhelming support from you guys I thought was amazing. If more of us stand up for what's right in this country, then we can actually make the change. But unfortunately, we did have one negative comment, but thankfully YouTube blocked it, didn't even let it post to the group. But somebody said some very bigoted and racist things that are not okay. But I don't know if you guys saw it, but we've seen people change their opinions this week, and I wanted to give people the opportunity to understand why this issue is so important to me and Liehr. And so I'm going to share for just a quick few seconds a story of how my perspective on the entire issue changed. And it goes back to when I was in college. We had an awesome guy on our debate team, extremely talented, named Oboom. And we went on one of our first trips with him to the Deep South to some random university. I don't even remember what college tournament it was at this point. But I remember exactly what happened on this trip. Because about 4 hours into the trip, somewhere in the middle of Arkansas, Oboom asked if we could stop to use the restroom. And I was jonesing for a cigarette. We all said, yeah, let's stop. And we stop at a gas station. And Oboom, who clearly had to use the restroom, just didn't use the restroom. All of us piled out of the car, went in, used the restroom, bought cigarettes, bought Cokes, and we're smoking cigarettes out of the car, and we noticed Oboom was still in the van. And so I reached my head in the van and asked Oboom why he hasn't got out and used the restroom. And I'll never forget the look on Oboom's face when I asked him that question. It was the look of fear, anger, and, to be honest, of somebody that was just scared and confused. And I asked him why, and he said, you don't see the racist symbols in the windows of that gas station? You guys didn't see the Ku Klux Klan adopted the highway outside this gas station? I can't get out of the van here. We immediately put out our cigarettes, got back in the van, and drove off. And I'll never forget seeing someone have to hold their bladder for 30 minutes while we drove to the first town where he felt that he was safe. It was that day that my world was shattered, and I realized that there were 2 Americas. America that was different from me and the rest of our white teammates to the world that Oboom experienced. And so that's why I care about this, and that's why I'm crying on this video. And so if you think I should just stick to NASCAR and sports, fair enough, that's your opinion. And I'll make you this promise. I will stick to NASCAR and just sports when we have equality and freedom for all Americans. It's as simple as that. Until that day, I'll continue to speak out because of my experiences, because great individuals like Oboom don't deserve to be treated differently because of the color of their skin. And that's as simple as that. Liehr, do you want to say anything while I gathered myself?
Man, that was definitely a heartfelt story. The first time I've ever heard it from you too, and it just makes you pull from your heartstrings. You know, for those people that have to experience something like that, none of their own doing. And I've seen some videos too on social media and just how overreacting some of these officials in law enforcement are on the African American community, and it's not right. It just is not right. And hopefully these protests and and people just talking about their experiences, we'll get some changes made.
No, for sure, dude. And I want to thank all the NASCAR drivers that have actually stood up and spoken out, especially at the risk to some of the fan base, and to some of your sponsors. Like, I think your sponsors will stand with you. Ty Dillon, specifically Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, those guys coming out and speaking out for what's right. Amazing job. And to be honest, I wish more NASCAR drivers did it and would take that stand. They need to. All right, I think I think that covers enough of that for the day. We can get back into racing. Do you think we covered that efficiently from our perspective for the day?
I'm ready to talk about some fantasy NASCAR, brother.
Well, and see, kids, that's what allows me to talk about something as trivial but yet fun as fantasy NASCAR with serious things going on. I have to be able to speak my mind. So with that said, guys, we've got a couple picks from both of us that we're going to give to you, and then we're going to go over what we think are the other plays that we would be interested in playing this week. And let's get to it. My first pick, actually, Liehr, I've done enough talking right now. Let's get your first pick first.
So, mine, man, is obviously one of the clear-cut questions of the week. There's going to be a lot of them posed this weekend for you to ponder and take a look at. And prices this week are all over the freaking place. Everybody's come down, and it's spread out the love of the prices, and it's also probably going to spread out the picks a little bit more. So I feel like this week we're going to get not as many duplicate lineups, so that'll be a great thing. But I'm going to be going with Chase Elliott starting on the pole. I mean, it's going to be the biggest question mark in my opinion for tomorrow's race. But Elliott and the number 9 Hendrick team are obviously the hottest team going into this weekend's race at Chase's home track. He's starting from the pole tomorrow, and the nice part is he's under 10K this week, guys. Mm-hmm. He's only $9,900. He's raced here 4 times. His best average finish, he has the best average finish of any active driver currently at 10.5, with his best finish coming 5th. Although his stats here aren't seriously overly impressive, as he has 0 laps led and 3 top 10 finishes, but this difference is this team right now. If a few things went a little different here in the last handful of races, and we're talking about Chase winning possibly 3 races already this season in 2020. So Hendrick overall as a team is by far the best team, and he's going to garner quite a bit of ownership being on the pole, but overall just his fandom too. But even that 0 laps led indicator has also not been correct in the guest picks that we've had to do the last 8 weeks. So with Chase Elliott leading laps and almost winning, and did win one. So that starting position and that pit box is vitally important, and I think it's gonna pay off some good things for him tomorrow.
Yeah, man. In this guessing process, I've learned really not to question Chase. It's not something you want to do. Normally, there's good reasons to not play him, and you can make the reasons on track history, but he keeps proving us wrong on the track history. The question for me is, if you're rostering Chase as a dominator, traditionally here, there are 2 dominators, one of which is usually Kyle Larson for 100-plus laps, but he's out of the equation. So is Chase going to be that guy that leads 100 laps, or can we count on my first pick to lead at least 100-plus laps, which is something he usually does here, and that is Kevin Harvick at 11,700 starting 9th. Look, he has a win here and 2 top 5s in the last 2 races while leading a total of 225 laps in those races at Atlanta. In the last 9 races here, he has finished out of the top 9 only once since racing here. It is unreal. And each time, he's led over 100 laps in 6 of the last 8 races here. If we're using any sort of historical metric, Kevin Harvick is not only underpriced at 11,700, but he's a surefire lock, barring craziness. Now, if you want to get on an island and get crazy, don't play Harvick because we don't have any information. But all indicators say Harvick should be a part of your lineup, I would think. Liehr, your thoughts on Harvick?
I mean, Bush.
Dude, and it's the corn car supporting corn farmers for some reason. Bush, beer, and corn. I don't know how that goes together, but sweet.
Basically, man, I'm right there with you, dude. Looking at this guy's stats here at Atlanta, and one of the biggest lap leaders is not here. He's gone. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's, like you said, led over 100 laps, and some of them he's led 292, 195. I mean, 181. Like, it's not just 100 laps; it's almost 200 laps, and almost 300 laps in the race three races ago. So to me, it's one of those where Kevin Harvick is the top dog of the Dominator potential this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just going to straight guesswork, I'm with you. So, Liehr, who's your next play that you like this week?
I'll be going to the teens. Going to be going with a guy that we talk about quite a bit here on the show, but going to be going with Eric Jones and the 20 team, coming off a decent finish last week at Bristol with a 5th place finish, and he was definitely required to have on the winning lineup last week to take down the big boys. So this week he's starting from the 14th position. He comes at a low bargain price of only $6,600. This is the biggest mispricing of any driver this week, which there were quite a few of them. So, but this is the biggest one that stands out the most. But he's raced here 3 times. His best finish is coming from last year, which was finishing 7th. Each race, Jones has also gotten better and better here. I don't feel like Jones is going to, dominate or lead a ton of laps here. I just don't see that from this team this weekend. But for $6,600, you're getting a cheap alternative to some of the other options presented to you out there this week, with a chance to get a top 5. He's probably going to be pretty high owned by the masses unless people decide that they need to swerve play off of him to get different. But in my opinion, I feel like it won't matter how much he's owned, because he should pay off at his salary this week. And I mean, if this just gives you any indication or any clarity, he's $6,600. Ty Dillon is $6,300. That's only $300 more. Now, granted, Ty Dillon's almost starting double what he is at 28th, but I mean, there's no comparison in equipment and the driver, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree, dude. But the problem with the Jones play, in my opinion, this week is an opportunity cost. He's so cheap and so good and should be right where I need him to put up the points. The question is that money that I'm spending on him better spent somewhere else? And when I'm calculating lineups, I'm not sure of that answer. It's a real gray area. And so I really like the Jones play. I think he should be in your consideration, but you're going to ultimately have to make a decision on how much he's going forward for your projections and how you want to rank it out and value his point total with that salary versus saving more money on maybe the guy I'm about to talk about and spending more of that up top. It's just a question of strategy this week. But before I get to the guy I'm going to talk about for value, let me talk about another one of the guys that I think is going to potentially dominate this race, and that is Brad Keselowski at 8,900. Now, he starts 6th and has 5 straight top 9 finishes. He also has 2 wins and a 2nd place finish in his last 3. In those races, he only led 21 laps, 38 laps, and then 33 laps. So he's not really a dominator here. But the interesting fact about Keselowski is he always seems to find his way to the front of the pack at the end of the race here. And I mean, you can go back and watch the history here. It's crazy. Whether it's a strategy time, like a pit strategy call, whether it's like them staying out on tires and somehow pulling it out, whatever decision they seem to make at Atlanta seems to work out for the better for that team, and it seems to happen all the time. And the other factor that I'd like to throw in, just like Liehr did earlier with while we're in the guessing game, of the Chase Elliott destroying his previous 0 laps led history at tracks, Keselowski's been on a tear of finding good random luck post-COVID with no practices and no qualifying. Interesting play, and he's severely underpriced for a guy that finishes as well and does this well at this track. 8,900 is a criminal mispricing for him. I just love this play. I think I'm designing some lineups around it, but it's risky because you have to bank on him lucking out in his normal fashion because those 20 laps aren't going to be enough.
No, brother. I mean, it's crazy coming off of winning last week, being on the pole. I hope you had exposure to him last weekend because he was a must-own play with the amount of laps he led and pretty much kind of, being at the right place at the right time at Bristol. And then, at the Coca-Cola 600, taking the win there. So, and then what happens? We come to a track where he's finished in the top two the last three races in a row with 2 wins. I mean, if there was any momentum or anything on his side, it's definitely on the side of the number 2. And maybe you guys do know, maybe you don't know, but this is a contract year for Keselowski and Penske. There hasn't been any negotiations, no talks in regards to an extension contract with Penske in the number 2 car. So, Brad's out to prove himself this year. It's kind of like NFL when you have one of those, seasons where you've got a guy that's in a contract season and he just plays lights out every game all year long because that he's got, that cheddar coming at the end of the season. And I feel like Kez is really working towards that this year. So far, I mean, he's one of the best drivers. But when it comes to lap history, he doesn't have it. $8,900, in my opinion, I don't necessarily feel like you have to have him completely dominate the race in order for him to pay off at that $8,900 price point. Now, he is starting 6th, but he is going to have to lead some laps. But as long as he can lead what he normally does and finish first, he will be there. But all those things have to align. I like Kez. I'm going to have exposure on Kez. I probably will not be as heavy as the field on Kez.
Fair enough. Good points. All right, Liehr, who's your third driver you're looking at this week?
Third and final for me, going back to that Rick Hendrick well again, but I'll be going with Billy Byron, the future Mr. Blaney. Did you know that he was in a relationship with Blaney's sister?
Yes, but I don't know how much of a relationship one can be in dating at Liberty University because, I mean, at least pre-COVID, Liberty University individuals have to get dates approved, and I'm not joking, they have to have a chaperone go on the date with them. That is a requirement for all students at Liberty University.
So, Billy Byron is the saint of NASCAR drivers when you have Ryan Blaney, who's probably like the hippie badass of the NASCAR drivers, and you think that he doesn't give his sister shit for probably dating him, but that's pretty funny.
Call me crazy, but I'm guessing Liberty's giving Billy an exception on their dating requirements and whatnot. Like, I doubt he has a chaperone at races and whatnot.
He's semi-adultish, so. But Byron and the 24 team have certainly had their struggles this season so far, probably because of the Liberty restrictions. But they're coming into the race with their best finish of the season, which is 8th, which is good. This week he gets a pretty sweet draw starting with the 20th position and comes with a price tag of $7,900. Billy will definitely be one of those picks that I think people, based off of his salary, will look at other options. He's a bit pricey for just a place differential guy at $7,900, as I don't think he's going to be a dominator when it comes to tomorrow's race. But he has raced here 2 times, both with team finishes of 17th and 18th. The one stat that I do love that people may not get into with Billy Byron is that he has the most top 10s out of any track types, which is this 1.5 mile cookie cutter track. He has his most top 10s here at these types of tracks. So with that possibility of that 10 plus place differential, the position, and I mean, he could get it higher than a 10th place finish. He's certainly capable of pulling that off tomorrow. Like I said, plus some. So I definitely love me some sneaky Billy Byron Liberty action tomorrow. So let's get it on, Billy Byron.
All right, and just to be clear, Liberty University could have changed that dating policy, but it was in effect like when I was debating against them and when I was coaching debate, and like that was the rule. So yeah, lots of interesting fun facts for private religious universities. All right, the guy I'm going to about this play, guys, this is as easy as they come. Michael McDowell, mispriced, 5,200. He starts 36th, free square, play it. If you want to get on an island, don't play it. But just know the reason why he's going to be the highest owned play probably, and the reason why everyone will be playing him is because it's the right play. I mean, that's just a egregious error by DraftKings. Liehr, do me a favor. Name the awesome drivers and the cars around him in that pricing range, please.
So I will start at 5,700 with Corey LaJoie starting 25th, Reed Sorensen starting 40th, BJ McLeod starting 39th at 5,400, Timmy Hill 38th at 5,300, Michael McDowell 5,200 starting 36th, with Quinn Hoff starting 35th, Garrett Smithley 34th, Brendan Poole 33rd, Josh Bilicki 32nd, J.J. Yaley starting 30th, and I don't even have to mention Joey Gase because nobody's making that play.
Yeah, see, guys, he's in way better equipment than all those other guys. And he's starting back there with them, so he gets all that place differential. And McDowell, in most races this year, is a teens finisher. Yeah, that spells place differential goodness. I have no idea what kind of crack DraftKings was smoking to, like, price him at 5,200. It is egregious. It's wrong. I don't know. It's not like he overqualified and can't score points like normal. Like the random draw gave him all the juicy points that you could want. I just free square. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, 3 out of the last 4, he's finished 14th, and this is just 2020. Okay, this isn't Atlanta. He's finished 14th, 25th, 19th, 17th. At that price tag of $5,200, I mean, yes, all day. But when you do look at the overall Atlanta Michael McDowell stats, they do kind of make you ponder and pause for a second.
There you go.
With a 37th, 24th, 29th, 33rd. I don't really need to go past further than that because that's not really relevant because he's changed race teams pretty much every year. But he's been with Front Row Motorsports the last 2 years with 37th and 24th. But the one thing in my mind with this team and this season that's kind of, I think, changed their overall perspective and attitude every week is, in my opinion, too, is the Rookie of the Year, which is John Hunter Nemechek. Basically showing that these guys that week in and week out, they could be in the teens with those cars, just depending on what kind of formula that they have for that weekend. And obviously we're all going to have factors that are going to play into that, race per race. I mean, on average here, we don't usually talk about this that much, but on average here, there's about 5 to 6 cautions. The last 4 races, there was 3, 6, 5, and 5. So 5 and 5 in the last 2 races. So, I mean, we're not going to get much more than just the stage cautions. Are they going to do a competition caution tomorrow? Do you know?
As far as I'm aware, it's not announced yet, but they did one for trucks and for Xfinity, so I'd assume so.
Yeah, so probably will. But so you'll get that 4th one in there, obviously for that, or I'm sorry, at least 3 of them. But you're going to get more. There is going to be some sort of carnage, but there may not be a ton of carnage. So I definitely think that he's going to be massively owned and probably won't be owned enough.
Well, and due to the single file racing here, when most cars get into accidents here, it's because they miss their mark, step out, and slam the wall. And they're usually single.
Is a rough racetrack.
Yeah, it's usually single car incidents though, like to take that one car out. It's very rare, but it's multiple cars here at Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we got through our picks, our first group of picks. Now we've got what we like to call the honorable mentions of the week, and that starts with one Martin Truex Jr. at 9,600, starting 11th. He has good stats here, but man, without Cole Pern, the Pern star, if you will, he just hasn't been the same to where we can count on him being a dominator week in and week out. It's more of a risky play. But in the land of guesswork, I'm totally down for it if you are. You've got guys like Denny Hamlin at 10,800, starting 10th. This isn't one of his best tracks, but he's still good here. But it's not one that you would write home as Denny Hamlin's the man here. It's just like traditionally at this track, what's really weird is Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick dominate this track in historic fashion, and then everybody else is playing place differential or hold position with a little bit of laps led to be on the winning lineup. So with that 100 and some laps that Larson always leads up for grabs, any of these guys could be in play, such as Clint Boyer at 8,700 starting 5th. It's actually one of his better tracks. He runs really good here. You've got Kurt Busch, who's a stud here at 9,400 starting 12th, giving you a skosh of place differential goodness as well. You've got Joey Bag of Donuts Logano at 10,500 starting 3rd. Another interesting play. Will he lead laps? I prefer his teammates. Jimmy Johnson at 10,200. Jimmy has been on fire this year. Starts 15th. Gives you place differential, but most likely he's not going to be a guy that leads you laps. And guys, I read off those honorable mentions, and we haven't even talked about Kyle Rowdy Busch, who, honestly, Atlanta isn't one of his better tracks. Liehr, your thoughts on that grouping of guys? I know it was quite a few, but...
Yeah, thanks, man. No, I mean, let's start right there, fresh with Rowdy. Going into today's truck race, the guy's won 7 out of the last 8 truck races. And, dude, he had one of his worst truck races I think he's ever had today at Atlanta. Now, granted, it was some partially not his fault. And then, you know, speeding on pit lane and having to do the drive-through penalty. But I'm not really feeling the Kyle Rowdy Busch play this weekend. I know he's starting up there, you know, from the 4th position, but his stats here are not very impressive at all. And you would think that even in the last 5 races that he would have some sort of domination here, but hasn't. He's led a total of like 11 laps in that time period. So I'm probably going to be making the stand of not playing any Rowdy Busch this weekend. Now, his brother, on the other hand, by the way, they were awesome in the booth Monday night together.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Yes. But his brother, on the other hand, is somebody that I'm very interested in, that spot of 12th position. And they've been having a pretty damn good season so far, too. But in the last 5 races, he's led 22, 62, and 52 laps with a 3rd, 8th, 7th, and 4th place finish. So, you know, if you're talking about a 3rd place finish and he leads 50, 60 laps, you're going to want to have him on your lineup. You got to own him. So I'm definitely liking me Kurt Busch this season. And that team's been on a semi-good roll this year so far, too. So, but when it comes to any of those other guys, I'm not really too high up on any of them. Jimmy Johnson is the only exception. The problem with Jimmy Johnson this week, though, is, I mean, he is the perennial leader in wins here with 5. He's also the dinosaur of races raced here of 28. But that team's been nice and hot this year. But the problem with him is he's $10,200. So that is going to eat up a nice chunk of your salary this week. But the way that salary's played out, you can make it work if you want to make it work. So,
and once upon the time, he was the king of 1.5 mile tracks.
Yes. I mean, remember that when it was Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick? Maybe we'll have that again this weekend for a reminiscent.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Liehr, we kind of left off some of the mid-rangey value guys. Anybody that sticks out to you?
As far as people that I'm drawn to, when it comes to their starting position in recent history, definitely liking me some sneaky kind of Austin Dillon a little bit, you know, especially because of his price point. His price point is right there just next to his brother. He's only $6,400, and he's starting 16th. So, and Austin Dillon in that Richard Childress team has done pretty good the last couple races with a 6th and an 8th place finish. But when it comes to Austin Dillon's track history, though, here, it's not so hot. So I think I'd rather roll with more recent, finishes and data. Track type be damned versus more historical data, especially since we're not having practice or anything like that. So, but he does have 3 top 20s here out of 7 races. But he's definitely one that I find is kind of a swerve there. You also have Matt DiBenedetto starting 21st, definitely coming off of a poor performance at Bristol, where a place where he has been dominant. He's going to want to get back in the saddle this week and perform well. And then another, the guy with John Hunter Nemechek that's pushing for Rookie of the Year, and that's Tyler Reddick.
Yep.
Starting 24th. The only thing with Tyler Reddick is he does come with a little bit of a hefty price tag at $8,300. But, I mean, can you not say that the guys easily could push into a top 10 here with the 14 points in place differential? So, he's going to be somebody that's going to be in lineups for sure tomorrow.
And I would just like to add the same can be said for Bell and Custer from their starting positions. Like they haven't had quite the success that Reddick has had so far this year, but like both of those guys have amazing place differential potential for this week. They're both great plays, priced about right in my opinion. Also, you've got the usual suspects of like Bubba, who's still overpriced in my opinion, or Ty Dillon that you can make those kinds of plays on. And pricing is so loose this week that I don't feel like you have to go anywhere lower than the front row motorsports cars, but you can if you want to. I just don't think that there's a need to.
No, for sure. And, you're going to have your different plays that, maybe they are on the winning lineup tomorrow, but, Sticky Ricky from a couple weeks back, or don't forget about Ryan Preece. He was a must-own last week at Bristol.
Or how Daniel Suarez is keeping that car on the track and squeezing into lineups occasionally. I'm just blown. My mind's blown on that. But
yeah, and he's starting 37th, so watch out for that. But, Ryan Preece is definitely one starting 29th. There are some that I don't think I'll be willing to touch, and those in my mind is Chris Buescher starting 13th. Sorry, just too high for you, sir. And until Matt Kenseth can get his feet back under himself, he has had a putrid last 3 races, and I just don't know if I can go there. Even starting 19th, and that's hard to even say. So
yeah, no, I mean, I would imagine normally if he was starting 19th with his caliber and that equipment, I would be locking him into lineups, but that's not the case so far. He hasn't looked comfortable in that ride yet so far this season. So
no, 16th, 23rd, 27th, and 30th. Yeah. Not good.
All right, man. With that said, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe the video. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with me through my story. Hopefully that lets some of you understand why I'm so passionate about this issue, and hopefully it may inspire you to be passionate about it as well. And that allows me to feel good about talking about NASCAR and sports, which is just something secondary that we can all enjoy. Guys, yes. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Liehr.
No, I was just going to say yes, for sure. And, make sure you guys have fun this weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be careful. Be safe. Hopefully we're helping you out, and hopefully you can help us out too by hitting that thumbs up. That helps us tremendously. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because, we're going to be here mostly every weekend doing shows for you for free. We've been the OGs of doing it since the inception on DraftKings, and we're still here. So,
dude, and we're the only show with 2 live final qualifiers, and we're the only show that has the fantasy racing world champion. I mean, I hear he's a hell of a guy.
I can vouch for him. He's a pretty good dude and knows his stuff. And we're the only ones that have our own race league too. So using their daily format.
Yeah. So guys, thank you again for being a part of our community. We love each and every one of you. Good luck, and let's win some money this week. If it's not me, if it's not Liehr, we really hope it's one of you guys. Have a good one, everybody.
Racing in Hot Atlanta.